right? Put it down in that little tube, you put the cap on the bottom, but when you need a cricket, you open up the top just like a juice bottle, right? And you just flick one out in your hand. Now you gotta be careful because you gotta catch them quick, otherwise they'll run up your arm and into your shirt, all right? But you catch them and then you can put it on your hook.
I thought, because you said a juice bottle, I thought you were gonna drink it.
No, you wouldn't want to do that. So that's a cricket tube, right? Makes sense, right? You can just kind of like hook that on your belt if you're fishing. That works well. Okay. Well, what about fish if you want to catch fish, like a bunch of minnows?
Cast net.
Cast net? Anybody ever seen a cast net? Okay. Well, here's a cast net.
Emily, you can tell your story if you want to. I feel like she's dying to tell
You got a story about a cast net?
What's your most recent thing that you were excited about that you did at the beach when you?
I like chased my down the beach and catch them, and then I used that as bait for. I would cut it in half so that.
Emmy, say what it is. Explain.
It's a bullet.
You caught mullet? You caught live mullet baits? Okay. And then you cut them up for bait, huh?
I cut it in half so that it was still like.
Okay.
So
Did you use a cast net? You did, okay. So look at this thing. Feel the weight of that. Those are lead weights down at the bottom. Okay. Lead weights. That makes it easy to throw if you're a grown-up. It's easy to throw. Now, what size cast net did you use? Did you use it or was it?
A 6-finger.
Okay, all right. So see all these strings here? All these strings are called risers and they go down to the weights. And what you do is you just take it in half like this, and when you want to throw it, you can grab it in your hand and you can cast it into a circle like a fan kick. Right? That casts out. When it hits the ground, you just tug it in like that. See, it drags the weights on the bottom. If there's any fish, they won't be able to get out because it's weighted at the bottom. So they'll just kind of get collected up.
Well, if they're a very strong fish,
then you'll feel them pulling against the rope as you're bringing it back in. And if you catch a big school of mullets, the net will try to swim off into the ocean. Then you know you got a good bait. Yeah. And you bring it up like this, and it'll be full of baits and full of water. And then you drop it down, and you can unload the fish.
gotta make sure that it's not near the water, else it can fall over the water.
That's right, yeah. You want to do that inside your boat or on a deck somewhere so you don't spill them. I see a hand behind me.
Okay. When you threw that, I almost thought we almost caught the chair. So.
That's okay. You can use that in freshwater and saltwater. You can catch little bait fish. Now when you catch fish, where are you going to put them? In your pocket?
In my mouth.
In your mouth? No, you want them to go in the fish's mouth. Okay, so when you go fishing, you're going to need a bait bucket, right? This is for live bait. Okay, now this is designed for free flow. So if you're fishing on a boat or if you're wade fishing, you can just kind of throw this thing out into the water with a rope. All right, and see the little trap door here? It's spring loaded, so the fish can't get out. Right? So you put the fish down in there, let the trap door close. Okay, see those little holes in there? That'll let fresh water get in from wherever you're fishing, right? So you can just, and it floats. These things are filled with air, so it'll kind of float upside down, right side up, whatever. But you can just kind of lay it out there because you caught the fish in the lake, right? Right? You want to keep them in the same kind of water that they were taken out of, right? Same color, same, clarity, minerals and whatnot. But you can just kind of drag this behind you, all right? And that fresh water will circulate in there. Yes.
And it's always good to give them their type of water, because if you give them the other type, then another type, because then they can die.
Yeah. You don't want to shock them, right? You want to keep the water at the same temperature and let it in the same, cleanliness, right? If you put them in fresh tap water, that wouldn't be good for them, right? Because our tap waters have got some sort of, a little bit of minerals and chemicals in it to make it clean for us to drink.
My dad almost died because I gave him new water.
You put them in the wrong water, right? So if this is going to be out of the water for a long time, okay, you may need one of these, which is called an aerator. Okay, it's a little air pump. And what it does when you turn it on, you hear it pumping. all it's really doing is creating air bubbles through this soapstone. So you put that down in there and that creates bubbles in the water, right? And that helps the fish keep oxygen in the water. Because they breathe, they go, what are they doing there?
Breathing.
Right. They're bringing water in their mouth, all right, and it's coming out their gills, and they're doing some sort of oxygen exchange, right? So that's how they stay oxygenated. Right. That's a big word. So, any questions on a bait bucket? No, pretty cool, right? They come in all shapes and sizes and colors. Okay. Well, what if you don't want to fish with live bait? I'm sorry, we got hands. Yes.
Are you able to catch fish with it?
With the bucket, you'd have to be really quick to get them to go in the trap door. But normally you'd catch them in a net and then kind of shake them out and then put them in the bait bucket. Yeah, that's what I would do. Yes.
So if you get like a fish with like teeth,
Uh-huh.
can you like keep the teeth like if you take them out?
I think if it was a piranha, I'd want to keep those teeth just to show everybody. But since you mentioned it, let me show you. What do you do when you catch a fish in the ocean and it's got a bunch of teeth? Do you want to stick your hand in it?
No.
Well, how do you want to safely bring that fish on your boat or on the beach to get the hook out?
Good to go.
No. You want to use something like this. This is a lipper gripper.
It has the shape of a heart when you put it.
It's a lipper gripper, right?
Good observation.
So, if you've caught a fish, like in the ocean, like a kingfish or a grouper, who said grouper earlier, right? You really don't want to stick your hand down there, all right? So what you'll do is you'll reach this into the water and gently grab it on his lip, right? It kind of locks in place, and then you can lift the fish up safely, bring him on your boat, and take the hook out.
Or you can grab it through their gills.
Or you can grab it through the gills, yes. Yeah, that's the more advanced technique.
We're not very advanced, but we.
You gotta be careful because the gills are also really sharp on the edges, right? And if you put your hands up into their gills, that's like me putting my hand down your throat into your lungs, right? It's not gonna feel very good for the fish. Okay, great. So say you've caught a fish, right? You're gonna need another tool like this, potentially. That's out. Okay. Safely remove the hook, because sometimes that hook doesn't catch them in the lip. Sometimes it catches them in the back of the throat a little bit, right? Or in the eyeball. Okay. Did that happen when you were fishing at the pond? Did the fish get hooked in the eye?
No, not in the eye, but we lost one way down inside, so he got
Okay.
sacrificed for bait.
We're gonna talk about that. Yeah. So if the fish has got a big enough mouth, you can reach down there and grab the base of the hook and just kind of shake it out, right? That's a very useful tool for, once again, saltwater fishing. It's got a little bit of rust on it. I didn't clean it last time. Or you have a regular pair of pliers, right? That you can, long nose, right? I prefer a long nose so I can, obviously get down in the fish's mouth, if his mouth is big enough, and kind of pop that hook out. Okay, so if he's really, really stuck, you can use another tool called a de-hooker. De-hooker, right? Looks kind of weird, right? You see that little slit in there? And there's a slit right there. Based on the size of the hook that you're using, right? Remember this example that we had here with the little baby hook. If that hook is stuck down in his mouth, now don't let me get this stuck in my finger. All right, you can slide that right on there like that, push it down in his throat, and look, it catches right there on the hook, and you just go, pop, and it'll pop it out. No, ma'am, it's not a magnet. Pass it around. It's just a tube or a post with a slit in it, which allows you to get the line in it, and it just right down onto the hook, and it'll pop it out. It's a very, very safe tool. So if you're not able to remove the hook, the best thing to do is cut the line as close down to the hook as you can, because that hook will eventually fall out of the fish's mouth. It may take 3-4 weeks, but that hook will eventually fall out of that fish's mouth.
Or you could cut it into pieces and then take out.
The fish?
Yeah.
You can always do that, yeah. Make fish sticks, right?
That's what
Yes.
happens. What happens
Yeah.
when you go fishing?
Oh, okay, so here in America, one second, this is a cool story. Here in America, we believe in what's called catch and release, right? We believe in fishing for the fun of it, recreation, right? As a hobby. Well, in other places of the world, they don't believe in that. Where we just moved from in Germany, it is against the law to release a fish that you've caught. Against the law. And so when you get a fishing license, which we're going to talk about next, when you get a fishing license in a foreign country, like Germany, they make you learn the rules. And what you have to do is, normally in America, we like throw the fish into a cooler of ice and let that fish go to sleep, right? In Germany, they say, no, das ist verboten, right? You have to dispatch the fish humanely. So they give you a little stick and they say, whack the fish on the head to stun him. And then you take your pocket knife and you flip the fish over and then you pierce its heart. And this is very gruesome for my 6-year-old boy when we did it the first time. Yes. You had to use bricks?
We knock catfish out with bricks.
Okay, you can do that. Or
Because I don't like
sometimes,
to let it die on ice.
right. Normally I'll have a cooler full of ice and water, a slurry like that, and I'll just throw the fish in there and they will cool down and
That'd be
they'll
pretty
eventually
quick.
stop breathing, which is okay.
Well,
They may flip and flop around a bit, but that's life. But big fish like sharks and tuna fish, they will knock holes in your boat if you don't dispatch them quickly. And sometimes they carry these little baseball bats to help stun the fish so the fish stops flopping around. Because that fish, literally, is so powerful that tail could knock a hole in your boat. Yeah.
What is this mean?
Dispatch, it means to kill humanely. Yeah. But that's okay because we're only going to kill a fish that we're going to eat, right? Yeah. And here in America, we can just turn that fish loose, which I prefer to do because, if I catch a bass or whatnot, if it's not big enough, I'm not going to eat it. I just like to catch and release. And we've studied fish after they've been caught several times, and they are completely healthy to turn loose and live a little bit longer. So we don't want to kill them unless we absolutely have to, or if we're taking home fish to feed our family, right? Yes.
Have you ever caught anything else except like a fish like the octopus or
I've caught some weird things. Yeah, moray eels, octopus, squid. Okay, I got a couple other tools to show you. Let's see what else. Oh, okay. So let's talk about laws real quick. All right. Every state in America is different. How many states are there?
50.
50 states, right? So every state regulates, which means set laws for fishing in their state. So in Georgia, you have to have a fishing license. This is my Florida fishing license. Don't pay attention. This is a fishing license. So the laws usually say that once you're 16 years or older, you need to have a fishing license, which costs a little bit of money. And they charge a fee every year for a year-long fishing license. And the money that they raise through selling fishing licenses goes back into taking care of the wildlife and the habitat. So here in Georgia, we've got public fishing waters. There's a public fishing area just in Deering, if you know where Deering is. And I've taken, no, my kids weren't big enough last time. But they have a fish hatchery out there, and they actually farm raise many types of fish, and they distribute them to all the public waters around the state. Okay, so that's the fishing license. Now you have, it's like a driver's license, right? All of you want to get your driver's license one day, I hope, right? So your moms and dads don't have to keep driving you around to all your activities. You have to have this license on you every time you go out fishing. Okay, if you get stopped by a wildlife officer and you don't have your fishing license on you, you could get in trouble. They could write you a ticket, and you might have to pay a fine.
Where do you have to go, the police station?
Right? Yeah. I don't think they would arrest you, not unless you were doing anything really wrong. But getting caught fishing without a fishing license is usually just a finable offense. They give you a fine, maybe $50 or so.
Do they do them digitally at all?
They do, yeah.
Okay.
But I always carry a hard copy because your phone can run out of battery.
For sure. I was just
or your
curious
paper
if they
can
did.
get wet. That's why I keep it in a Ziploc bag when I'm fishing, obviously. But if you get caught with a fish in your possession, meaning that you caught one and it's in your cooler, and you don't have your fishing license, or it's not of legal size, what do you think that means?
It's not big enough.
Not big enough, right? Then the fine could be even bigger. So, the one thing that I carry with me every time I go somewhere is my fish measuring device. See, you catch a fish, you just kind of load its head in there, and this goes up to 12 inches, right? So most small fish like brim and bass and crappie that you were catching in your pond, most of them have a 12-inch minimum size limit, which means you should let it go if it's 9, 10, or 11 inches. But if his tail sticks out past that little curve there, I'm gonna take him home if I want to. All right, I'm gonna fry him up and I'm gonna have a fish sandwich. You guys like fish sandwiches? No?
Yes.
All right. Well, if he's bigger than 12 inches, you might need one of these. A tape measure. This is a 60-inch tape measure, I think. Yeah, 60 inches. All right. If I catch a fish this big, I'm definitely taking it home so that people can see it.
Or
Definitely.
that's a dolphin size, I think.
Dolphin size, yeah. Not flipper type, but you know, the other kind of dolphin. Okay. Well, what if he's a trophy fish and I want to weigh him?
Fish scale.
A little scale. Yeah, you pull down on that and see, the heavier the fish is, the more he scores on the scale. You have a question? Oh, okay. You just want to give that back to me? Thank you.
I wasn't sure.
Couldn't figure out what she was doing. Awesome. Cool. Another neat little tool to have is a little pair of snips, right? Because oftentimes you learned about tying knots, right? You learned about tying knots?
We did.
A little bit. So sometimes you gotta cut the line, right? And this is very useful. I usually hook it on my belt clip, right? Keep it in my pocket when I need to trim. Like if we talked about the fish getting caught, hooked in his throat, all right? If I just need to reach down in there with the trimmers and pinch that off. Or if I'm gonna change baits, right? If I'm gonna change lures, I wanna cut it off, I wanna retie it real quick. This makes it easy to just reach in there and snip. And this can cut, plastic line, it can cut braided line, and it can cut steel leader too. That's good. Any question?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
When you catch a fish and
Uh-huh.
it's caught in its throat, do you ever hear it cough? Or like,
No, unfortunately, no. I would feel bad then. Okay, so we talked about dead bait, we talked about bread, and we talked about, hot dogs, and we talked about live bait, minnows, shrimp, mullet, you can catch mullet, worms, we talked about worms, right? Let's talk about some artificial baits, okay? Artificial baits, no, everything's artificial here, and I'm gonna try to give you something that doesn't have a hook in it. So I want you to pass these around, but take a look, okay? We'll pass these to you, share them with your friend,
They look so
share them with your
slimy.
friend. All right, feel that. All right, I think I got one for everybody, without hooks. Maybe so.
Fish.
Maybe so, there you go. You take that one.
Is it
It's a little greasy, it's a little greasy.
Wait, did the fish Oh
Okay.
my god. Oh my god.
So, take a look at those plastic baits. Now these are called artificial baits. What do they look like? What do they look like? Tell me what they look like.
Lettuce?
They look like worms, they look like little bait fish, right? They look like things that would live in the water or fall in the water, right? Because we talked about fish, they're predators, right? They're gonna eat anything that falls in the water by accident or lives there and just happens to be at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, dinner time.
Sound
Oh,
good?
crayfish. Look at that.
Okay?
Do you want this?
So those are soft plastic baits. I knew that would get it. I knew that would get it.
Oh
Right?
my gosh.
So what you can
Alright,
do
y'all.
with those,
Now listen up.
girls, what you can do with those soft plastic baits is you can tie them on your bait caster, like with a special hook. And then you can, just like we talked about, you can cast out, maybe there's a tree sticking out of the water and you think that maybe that tree is like 6, 7, 8 feet deep below the water. So you could cast it out there and reel it back. All right, but once again, you want to try to match the hatch, right? We talked about match the hatch. So certain times a year, various baits will have various levels of success, right? So you want to try to match the hatch and get a bait, pick a bait, right? Like, what do you think I'm going to use in the springtime? Frogs? Okay. What do you think I'm gonna catch more on? The big one or the little one? The littler one during the spring hatch, right?
Real?
No, it's not real, it's plastic. But it's got, look at that. When you, it's artificial, so this is a plastic body. When you squeeze it down, guess what it exposes? See those? It's like snake's teeth. Those are the hooks. So when that fish comes up and bites that little bait, he's gonna squeeze that little plastic thing down. And I'm gonna yank really hard, and it's gonna set those hooks right in the top of his mouth. Or like here, this one's got a trailing hook, right? See that hook in the back? Because when this thing runs through the water, those feet are gonna spin like that, creating a little wave, right? And that fish is just gonna, he's gonna hear a dinner bell. And he's just gonna chase, yeah, this one's gonna float. So you cast it out there and you just kind of twitch it, twitch it, twitch it, twitch it. And he'll come up and smack. Awesome. You guys like those?
What if it landed on a lily pad? That would make it really real.
Lily pad, right? You could jump it right off the lily pad.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys had enough with those? Are they a little greasy?
Yeah,
A little
I
greasy?
don't want to.
Yeah, this one kind of looks like a crayfish, right? He's got little pinchers, and these are little minnow-like baits.
Yeah, those were really slimy.
Okay, pretty cool, huh? I love fishing. Don't know if you can tell or not.
Y'all's faces right now.
Very familiar. I think it's a fishing
Yeah.
pole before.
Yeah, we put all these away. I don't want to catch a hook. All right, so what you want to do though, so take a look at these, right? So soft baits work well by themselves. You can rig them with just one simple hook, or you can rig them with something like this, which is a weighted head, right? So that is a lead weight with a hook attached to it, and you just kind of thread the bait on there. And this gives you a little bit more weight, so you can cast it further, and it'll dive down to the bottom. And then when you retrieve it, you can pop it up and down, pop it up and down. And all that action makes it look like more of a wounded bait fish, which again, fish are predators and they want to try to get an easy meal, right? So if this fish looks like he's wounded, swimming back, that fish may come up and try to bite it. Yes?
What type of fish was that supposed to be or something?
This could be very much like a mullet, like you caught in the surf there with your cast net, yeah. Yeah, small baby mullet, yeah. Once again, you want to try to maybe match the hatch. They make all kinds of plastic baits, smaller and more hooks. They even make little things like this. That's a shrimp. That's a shrimp, right? It's got a little weight built into it, right, with a little exposed hook, right? But if you're fishing in salt water, you want to match the hatch, all right? So if you're trying to catch flounder or redfish or trout, maybe you might want to fish with something like this, and you throw it out there on the bottom, just kind of give it some action and see what bites. Hold on. Okay? What? Yes?
You said that was a shrimp. It doesn't look like it. It really doesn't. It looks
Okay. Well, the fish don't know the difference. Like, they'll come up and eat. Okay.
Well, and you're used to eating it once the head's cut off as well, so.
Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's not the kind of shrimp that you eat. That's what it looks like in the wild.
My mom used it.
Okay, so you got a chance to see those, All right, what I really like though are hard baits, right? Things like this. Let me pass a few of these around. These are cool.
Are they
Pass these around.
not real?
They're not real, but they're designed to look like things that are real, right? Pass those around.
It's looking at.
Okay. Right? And once again, shake it. What does it do? Rattles, right? So it makes sound and vibration, right? Or you've got really, really, really fancy baits like this one here.
Ooh.
Check this one out.
That's really cool.
Right? Now this is a hard bait. It's made of I don't know, like a polymer, but it's jointed, right? So when it gets pulled in the water, it dances like a real fish.
Whoa, that's
Doesn't
so
that
weird.
look delicious?
Yeah, but it also looks like, wait, what? Terrifying.
Right? So it's got sharp hooks, so I'm just gonna kind of hold on to it for you, but feel that. That's like hard styrofoam, and it's painted,
Feels so weird.
right? Custom made.
Oh, wow.
Custom made. There's a guy in Atlanta that makes these.
Oh, wow.
Handmade.
Can I just
Yeah. And they have like horsehair tails. horsehair tails, feel his tail, that's real hair, right?
Can I touch his
Sure, sure, it's just a bead, all it is a bead, right?
I'm proud of you, Natalie.
Yeah, it's like,
I'm proud of you.
it
Good job.
is,
Thank
really.
you.
You know, and people that make these things can get really fancy.
The ones
Right?
that
Really
spin
fancy with
automatically.
Yes, yeah. So this,
I have a catch over
you know, you cast it out and you pull it and it just kind of swims on its own. It makes a little vibration and the big fish just love this thing, I'm telling you. But there's also things that don't really look like fish or maybe mimic something else, like a spinnerbait. Anybody ever seen a spinnerbait?
That looks like a earring.
Okay, this is a spinnerbait. It's got some
True.
blades on it, so when it pulls through the water, those blades are just turning, right? And if the water is not clear, if it's like muddy, all right, fish are triggered on vibration and flash or sight, right? So this may look like a whole school of little fish swimming by a big bass, right? And he might want to chase it and try to eat the whole lot.
And a jingle.
But I got something for him. I got 2 hooks for him right there. See that? Hidden in the skirt. So that's a spinnerbait. And then one of my other favorites, this is a buzz bait. It sinks in the water, but when you retrieve it fast, it'll come up to the surface. And see that propeller?
Whoa. It's like a copy of that.
Exactly. So vibration, right?
Whoa.
Yeah. Color and vibration. Anything that's really bright, shiny, flashy, all right? And if it vibrates or if it rattles, you got a good chance of catching a fish.
It's like one of those wind things that says which wind direction.
Yeah. What do you think of those? Various sizes. Are there any others out there? Okay, great. So this may look like a mullet. This is a floating bait. All right, you cast it out, you can twitch it, and it rattles, and it looks like an injured fish, like on the surface. Now, I personally love fishing surface baits because the fish come up from the bottom with aggression, a lot of hate and discontent. They come up, and then they'll just blow it out of the water. I love topwater fishing. It's so exciting. Yeah, it's my favorite.
Scary.
That's my favorite. Yeah.
Because you can see what fish you're catching.
Yeah, especially when they like blow out of the water and the tails go flapping and whatnot. But if you've got, so we talked about dead bait fishing, we talked about live bait fishing, we talked about bait casting, which is one of my favorites. It keeps me involved, right? And I love trying to convince a fish that doesn't want to eat something that I put right in front of his face. I get a lot of satisfaction about doing that, right? Because I feel like I've conquered that fish. Because he might not have been hungry, but he was like, well, there's a little bullfrog in front of me, so I might as well eat it because I don't know when my next meal is going to come. And he ends up on the end of my line. But these bigger baits like this, and the last technique I wanted to talk about is trolling, right? So if you can troll with live bait, if you can catch it. You can troll with dead bait. They're a lot easier to catch. Or you can troll with artificial lures. And what you're going to do is, mostly people troll like in ocean boats, right? Because, you know, they're out there, they're not going to get hooked on anything, right? And what you're going to do, Charlotte, help me out here. You're going to hold this pole. So what you can do is when you tie your bait on, right, you can cast it out way behind your boat, okay? And then you put your boat in motion. You just start driving away gently, and it's going to start pulling, dragging that bait behind you, right? The further away from your boat's probably the better, because they don't, the fish will think it's something fishy if it's tied to your boat. Hold on, 2 hands, Charlotte, 2 hands. Okay, but when a fish sees your bait that you're trolling behind the boat, this is what you're going to listen for. Hold on. Ready? That's the sound you want to hear. That's the sound of the drag peeling off the reel because some big fish has just come up and crushed your lure or your dead bait and is running off with it. He's trying to steal your bait. Yes?
Is the sound made for like that reason? Like it's made so you can hear it?
Yes, yeah. They put a little clicker in there so that you can, you know, because most of the time you're driving the boat, you're not always looking at the reel.
Yeah.
But you can always put a little bell on the tip of the rod, or if it's got a clicker, you'll know definitely when you've hooked a big fish because it'll start stripping off.
Oh, I thought it was
Right.
just something that happened when the string went.
No. As soon as something heavy on the tail end here starts running away with your bait, you'll know it because it'll start stripping and dragging and it'll start making that sound.
But if it does get away, it's like free food.
Yeah, sometimes. That's why they call it fishing and not catching. Oh, make sure I don't put it through the ceiling there. Yeah.
We're really good at feeding the fish sometimes.
You're really good at feeding
Yeah.
the fish? Yeah, me
They
too.
love to get that bait off of there.
Me too. That's why I like fishing with artificials and treble hooks.
Smart.
Because they got, they got 2 extra chances to get hooked with a three hook setup. So, any questions about that? That's trolling with the big rods. Okay, couple things. Last, we want to talk about safety, right? Because you can't have a hobby if it's not. You can't have multiple experiences with your hobby if it's not safe. You might not get a second chance to be out there and enjoy your hobby. So let's talk about some safety stuff. So, where do you do fishing? Where do you go fishing? Yes.
I was gonna say, so one time, our neighbor came up to the house and she had a massive hook in her head. She's like, "Can you?"
A hook in her head.
She was
How did that
fishing
happen?
with her grandson. She was like, "Hey, can you watch him while I go to the emergency room?" Because it was like right here.
It made it through her hair into
It
her
was
head.
it was
skin?
sticking out. Like if it was one of my kids, I probably would have just clipped it and pulled it out. But I didn't want to mess up her face, so I watched her grandson while she.
Oh no!
This is not uncommon.
Definitely.
We live kind. I don't know. It's not all that uncommon for random
Yes.
things like that to happen at our house.
So,
Sorry, that's terrible.
where do you catch the fish?
In the water.
In the water, right? That's an inside joke.
Or you could catch it. You could put it
Yeah.
right here and then.
You could, but most fishing you're gonna do is gonna be outside and it's gonna be in the sun, right? So you need a good sun hat, something like that to keep the sun off of you, right? Okay, because you wanna stay safe. Now, what about sunscreen, right? You need some sunscreen so you don't burn your arms and legs and back and neck. Always wear your sunscreen, and they make these things now called a buff, right? A buff, and it's like a little face shield, so you can put it on your face or over your neck, like this, right? And you pull it down over your neck so you don't get sunburn on your neck, all right? When you're out in the direct sun, you can bring that up over your head, and you can bring it up over your nose like that. Keep the sun off your face, okay?
Like 10 million volts.
You got, yeah. Very popular nowadays, thanks to COVID,
Yes.
all right? And then always, you want to wear lightweight, long sleeve clothing, right? Feel that. Feel how soft that is.
I have like 8,000.
It's like a pair of silk pajamas, right? All right. That is a UV ultraviolet reflective shirt, right? So it's like, you probably do. It reflects the sun and it keeps you cool because it's got vents on the side, right? Keeps you breathable, but that'll keep the sun off of you in a really hot day. And it won't allow you to burn your skin, right? So you want to use a combination, all right? Sunscreen, hats, buffs, right? And UV protected clothing. All right. What if you're in a boat?
Life jacket.
Life jacket, right?
Yeah.
Most states say that if you're 10 years or younger, you have to have a life jacket on at all times when you're in a boat. Okay?
She's looking at me like
Georgia's
I'm older.
not?
I'm old. No, she's
Oh.
looking at me because
Okay.
she's older than 10. But
Oh.
that
Once again, check with your state laws, right? Because we got 50 different states, we got 50 different sets of laws.
and then parents sometimes have laws that override those laws and make you have
Yes.
to wear it for longer than that.
Yes, so this is just a over-the-shoulder style, over-the-neck style, all right, life jacket. I wear this one when I go kayak fishing, right? Because I don't want anything that's big and bulky, and it's got a little air cylinder in it.
Look
Oh,
at that,
full
you're older
place.
than 10 too when you wear one.
Even
See,
I do it.
exactly my point,
Right,
right?
you know why I wear a life jacket when I go kayak fishing? Because most of the times I do it by myself.
And I bet you know how to swim, right?
And, well, yeah. But you never know when you're going to fall out of the water.
That's
That's my
right.
point.
That's
There's
right.
some that are like just like a vest and you pull up.
Yes, yeah, this one's got a little ripcord here, so if I fall out of the boat and I get in trouble, it
Oh, that one inflates. Okay. I
inflates.
didn't
Yeah, there's a little
realize
air
that.
canister in there that
Yeah.
automatically inflates. Yes.
When One time when I was little and I went to the beach for the first time, I went into the ocean and it tried to sweep me away, and then I didn't have a life jacket on, and then I almost
Scary, huh?
went into the ocean.
Scary, huh?
Once we were fishing in a pond, and we took the polaris over there and we put the fishing poles in it, like where they wouldn't like get floated into the water if the fish was on, and we were over on the other side of the pond trying to catch bass and stuff. When I was walking over to get some small hooks, both the rods were just. I was like, wait, my neighbor was over there. I was like, wait, get over here, we got two catfish.
If you, it guaranteed to catch a fish as soon as you walk away from your fishing pole.
Yeah,
Happens to me every time.
And like I walked halfway across, like all the way across the pond, just like kneeling and slowly making sure they didn't break.
Yeah.
When it was up against like the edge of the water, the hook came off, but it didn't realize that, so it was kind of just sitting there for a minute.
Okay.
And my brother came and he like landed, he like went all the way in the water. He was just like that, but he got away.
Oh man. Okay, were you gonna eat it? Is that what you're gonna do?
But at least we did get one.
Okay, all right, yeah, catfish, yeah, they're sneaky little critters.
It was massive. It was like that long.
Yeah.
I was super mad.
Yeah.
Plus they have all that fur with their cats.
The last thing I wanted to mention to you about safety equipment, I know it doesn't seem like it's a piece of safety equipment, but I always take a rain jacket with me. Because here in Georgia, the weather can change like in 20 minutes. All right, and I've been on the Savannah River a couple of times south of the I-20 bridge, and I couldn't paddle fast enough to get out of a thunderstorm, so I had to ditch my kayak and go hide under a tree or in the woods, away from a big tree. But it was scary because I didn't have a life jacket on, and if you've ever been caught in a rainstorm, rainwater's cold, right? And you start shivering, even if it's 95 degrees outside. That water may be 72 falling out of the sky, all right? And it'll definitely bring your core temperature down, so I'd always recommend you keep a rain jacket in your fishing tackle, because you never know when you're gonna need to pull it out and use it.
And when you said the tree thing, you should never stand by
Yes.
a tree.
He corrected himself
Yes,
right
never.
after I saw that. You
Never.
corrected yourself right
Yeah,
after you said it.
Yeah,
I
so,
told Luca when it caught on fire and they were in the tree.
yeah.
I stuck my thumb in a catfish's mouth. I forgot how hard they can bite
Yes.
down. I stuck it in there, and I was like, right when it was about to bite down, I was like, why did I do that? I tried to pull it out, but it like,
It got you?
and when I went to pull it, like just
Oh, yeah.
in its teeth, like it was
Scraped
big.
right
I was
across
super-
your finger.
I was super upset.
So that's how some people in the Midwest, like Arkansas, Missouri, Iowa, that's how they fish for
Noodling?
catfish. It's called noodling. Can you believe that? They swim in the water, they dive down and they stick their hand down in a hole and they feel around. If there's a catfish there, they try to stick their hand in its mouth to get it to bite them. And when it does, they pull it out.
That's torture.
That is ridiculous.
That is torture.
Yeah, yeah. You don't need all this stuff. You just use these,
That's
right?
I really want to do that. That would be really fun.
Well, you guys have been a very good class. Thank you so much. Are there any questions? Any final questions, thoughts that I can answer for you? Yes, ma'am.
What kind of fish can you catch with the fly rod?
Whatever type of bait that you tie onto the fly line, you can catch trout, you can catch salmon, you can catch freshwater fish, catfish.
I just feel like with the bigger fish, you just snap the rod.
Yeah, they make fly rods with varying, more flex, right? So stronger fly rods, like bonefish for saltwater.